Listen, when you're hiring people, stop trying to sell them into the job. I try to talk people out of the job. If you're a CEO listening to this right now, you're probably persuasive, you're probably influential, and you probably talk people into taking a job with you. You should be trying to talk them out of the job.
Hello and welcome to the Remarkable CEO Podcast, a show dedicated to chiropractors who want to transform their job into a business so that they can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. With your hosts, Dr. Pete Camiolo and Dr. Stephen Franson.
Welcome to another episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast, chiropractic's #1 business podcast. I'm Dr. Pete Camiolo.
And I'm Dr. Stephen Franson.
And you're joining us in the midst of a conversation that we love to have, and it's about your business, and it's about the constraints, because we know that if we can identify what the primary constraint is, and we can knock that domino, we know that's going to have an effect on every other area in your business. And what we love is seeing chiropractors break through and their businesses grow. We get just fired up about that because we know that we are in this business and it's the business of saving lives. So if your business is growing, you're saving more lives, you're making a bigger impact, you're making a bigger income, everybody is winning. That's why chiropractic is good for everybody, every town, every city, everyone around this globe, because when chiropractic is doing well and chiropractors are winning, everybody is winning. Guys, what an amazing business to be in, chiropractic. If you've lost that loving feeling as a chiropractor, my friends, you're probably doing it alone. You need to get plugged into a great group. So #1, welcome to the CEO Podcast. If you've been listening, just tuning in. Dr. Stephen, I talked to a guy recently, said, man, I just listened to your podcast for the first time, just discovered it. I said, welcome. You're 375 episodes late, but get in there. And
get in there.
Work. Like, we've been at it for many, many years, and it's just absolute gold. But one of the things that I've learned, Dr. Stephen, over all the years, it's important to be a part of a tribe, to be a part of a team. And we are a tribe. We are a team. And we would love to be able to support you in that through this podcast. So make sure you tune in each and every week and join us. Join us at one of our upcoming events, or get on one of the calls with one of our expert coaches and have a conversation with us about your business. Let us help you break through some of these constraints. Dr. Stephen, we're going to be talking about the constraint of team today. This is a big one. We both have a lot of passion around this one, so it's going to be a good one. But we're going to keep it simple. We've identified what we believe is the constraint. There are constraints, plural, but we believe the constraint, the one that's going to knock them all over. We found it, and we believe we're going to expose that for you today. So, Dr. Stephen, looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, I love this conversation, Dr. Pete, just generally like helping people get focused, right? Because I know, all the chiropractors that I know, they don't have an effort problem, right? So they've got a focus problem. So everybody's working hard, trying hard, spending a lot of time, energy, focus, and money trying to grow their practice, right? So that's really that's not the issue, right? It's a focus issue. Right. So just spraying that time, energy, focus, and money all over the place. Right. So they're warming surfaces, if you will, instead of starting fires. Man, my fantasy after this series is that we've got thousands of chiropractors now that know exactly what to focus on, really just catch that fire. Right. So it is that first domino. It is tip that thing over, start, take it from potential energy to kinetic energy, get that thing in motion, overcome the inertia, pull your practice forward. Your practice will just go to the next level if you address the primary that primary capacity issue, right? That primary block, if you will, right? There's a constraint that's in your way right now. It's a dragon. You probably think you've got 10 problems, and you might be right, but you do have that one that you should be focusing on. I love the expression, you can't chase 2 rabbits. You definitely can't chase 10, right? So it's just like, let's address that one problem 10 ways, right? Let's get everybody unified on the team, get everybody focused, and let's slay this thing, right? So maybe you found yourself on this podcast today listening to this because you've got a people constraint, right? So there's somebody on your team, right? There's some kind of team issue. Either you're overstaffed or understaffed, or you got the wrong people in the wrong seats, doing the wrong work the wrong way, right? So it might be a combination of all those things, but you've got a team issue. So if that's you, lucky you. You've walked into the room just at the right time, because today what we're going to do is we're going to help you get focused on what we find to be the #1 constraint when it comes to your team. And it's going to start generally, but we're going to get really specific, Dr. Pete, and that's about creating accountability. Okay, so accountability is what takes motion and turns it into movement, right? So if you're like me, you recognize that chiropractic practice can be a busy place. There's a lot of particle movement. There's a lot of stuff flying around. There's a lot of stuff happening, right? Everybody feels busy. Well, at the end of the day, man, I don't want everybody to be busy. I want everybody to be productive. And the only way we get people productive is when we get people focused, right? Focus is what turns busyness into productivity. Dr. Pete, what we want to do is we want to create greater focus so that people can get productive and we can hold them accountable to driving the outcomes that we're paying them for.
So you said something earlier in the conversation that we've already had and I want to make sure nobody missed it, which was there are 4 things you have to get right when building your team. And if you miss any of them, it's going to be an issue. We've identified that accountability, or the lack thereof, is the constraint. But let's quickly review the 4 things you have to get right when it comes to people, the people side of the coin, the people side of the business. So the first thing you have to get right is you got to get the right people, the right person. When Dr. Steve and I, before this episode, we kind of said, what do you think it is? What do you think it is? And we both agreed that accountability was what it was, but we had another one that we both agreed was right up there, neck and neck, and it was settling for less than A players only. So that was the other one, Dr. Steve, we went back and forth on. But, the first thing you have to get right of the 4 rights is get the right people. And there are criteria that we have that we've identified that determine if someone's the right person. Now, the right person will respond very well to accountability. That is a attribute of an A player. A players desire, understand the value of, maybe even would demand, require accountability.
100%.
So recognize that if you struggle in this area, if you go upstream, it's possible you don't have the right people. And I'm not going to say it because I don't know if that's your issue. I'm just saying, if accountability is a problem, historically, presently, if you don't want it to be a problem in the future, it's very possible if you turn to the left and go up one of the rights, you might not have the right people. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one is got to get them in the right positions. Positioning is key because God only makes geniuses. And that's awesome. I love that. Not every genius has a spot on your team.
Right.
There's not a position for every type of genius necessarily. We have a very specific genius. There's a blood type for every position on your team. And we've got to match the person with the position. And we've got to get that right. Because if you have the right people and you have them in the right position, you're 50% to the target of making this thing great, getting it to work, the flywheel to spin, to turn that motion into movement, creating that level of productivity that comes with focus. So you've got to get the right people, and they've got to get in the right position. And it's a positioning challenge. And this might be the issue right now for you. So your accountability isn't working because the area you're asking them to be accountable for is outside of their zone of genius. They're being asked to focus on things that, quite frankly, they shouldn't be doing. Not because they don't want to help. It's just that's not an area where they have genius. They're not going to win. It's going to take them 10 times more effort than the person whose zone of genius it is, where it's minimum effort, maximum return, which is what we want. So recognize that it's possible that your team might be positioned incorrectly. And so you're saying, yeah, Dr. Pete, Dr. Steven, I love this accountability. I'm going to give them accountability. But then it didn't work. It's possible that they weren't accountable for the right things based on the positioning, based on their hard wiring. So that's the second thing. The third right is to do the right work. This has to do with roles and responsibility alignment. There must be clearly defined roles with key responsibilities that are aligned with the position where I have influence, okay? Keyword is influence. So I can influence the outcomes that I'm accountable for that are associated with that work, that are associated with that position. So the right position, doing the right work, alignment there is critical for focus and productivity. So you have to look at your key responsibilities that are organized inside of your accountability chart, your accountability grid, that are directly associated with the position to make sure those are aligned and that we're on the same page. Everybody's in agreement about that so that you can hold someone accountable. They can agree to what they're going to be accountable for, which are going to be the outcomes associated with that work. And then doing it the right way, that's training, right? This is just, we're always looking at it. We're always optimizing, right? We operationalize, professionalize, and optimize. The right work, the right way, doing it the right way, the fourth key to get right, that's ongoing. That's just, we're always training. We're sharpening the blade. We're always in the road is always under construction when it comes to, optimization. We're always going to school on this.
We're in the gym.
We're in the gym, right? And that's ongoing. So if you have a person on your team who isn't into getting into the gym and continuing to work on themselves, then that's wrong, and it won't work. So you got to get those four things right, Dr. Steve. But I just want to set that frame because you said it quickly, just to reorganize everybody to get their heads right. So now we can get into the accountability.
Yeah. So now let's lay the lens of accountability over that, right? So, when we talk about the A players, right? So it's the right person, right? So this is your hiring process, guys. This is your onboarding process, right? So it's like, you've got to start with A players who share your core values and buy into your vision story, right? So when you're going through your hiring process, you have got to filter people, right? So you got to make sure it's like, man, I've got to have an A player. And what are the attributes of A players? One of them is they actually require that you hold them accountable. Think about it. If you're an A player, right? If you're listening to this right now, it's like, if you're listening to the Remarkable CEO podcast, here's something I know about you. You're an A player. Nobody listens to this podcast who's not like full on A player, right? So don't you like to be held accountable? Don't you know that there's somebody, whether it's your partner, it's your spouse, right? So it's somebody on your team, right? So somebody in your Bible study, or somebody that's your workout partner, or the guys in the WOD that you go to at CrossFit, or it's just like just somebody holding you accountable, right? So it's like we all understand that iron sharpens iron here. Like we want to be held accountable. A players require it. So you've got to establish that as you're hiring a person or not hiring them. Listen to me once again. Either while you're hiring them or determining that you are not going to hire them because they're not energized by being held accountable. Okay. So you got to listen, when you're hiring people, stop trying to sell them into the job. I try to talk people out of the job. Stop. If you're a CEO listening to this right now, you're probably persuasive. You're probably influential, and you probably talk people into taking a job with you. You should be trying to talk them out of the job. Okay, so you've got to push against that. You've got to make sure that they understand. It's like, listen, we're in the business of saving lives here. We act like it. We train like it, right? So we measure our activities. We set goals. You will be accountable to the responsibilities, and you'll be accountable to the outputs. And we're going to be measuring those. You're going to have a scorecard, KPIs, right? So we're going to meet regularly. You're going to own. Are you ready for that? You should see that person be like, give me the ball. Yeah. Give me the ball. Put me in, right? That's what A players sound like. So from the beginning, guys, when you're setting expectations and agreements, it's not only talking to them about the job description. And the job description is an organization of responsibilities. 5 bullets, 5 lines, 5 responsibilities in this role. That's what a role is. It's a collection of responsibilities. It's like you own this. You own these responsibilities, and each one of these responsibilities is measurable, and those measurements are called KPIs, or key performance indicators, and you're going to be accountable to these outcomes, and we're going to set goals for you against these outcomes, and this is going to be your role. This is going to be your scorecard. These are going to be your responsibilities. You will be accountable to this. Do you hear me? Like, hear what I sound like? This is literally what I sound like when I'm trying to talk somebody out of it. Anybody is like, oh, bro, I don't know. That just seems like a lot. I'm like, yeah, thank you for saving us both a lot of pain. Right? This role is not for you. So number one, making sure that you're setting expectations and agreements in the front end, right? So you already covered it, Dr. Pete. Put them in the right seat. Each seat in your business, in your practice, calls for a very specific genius based on the responsibilities that are organized underneath that role. There's certain skills, talents, experience, attributes that a role calls for. Like a check-in CA is different than a checkout CA. A caregiver DC is different than a business builder DC. An office manager is different than a business office manager. Guys, there's different roles, and each role has a set of responsibilities, and those responsibilities call for different attributes, right? So it's blood typing, just like if you were building out a football team. There's all different positions. Each position calls for a specific genius, right? So when we say you're holding people accountable, what are you holding them accountable to? You just can't loft out that word, oh, I need to increase accountability. Because the truth is, guys, and write this down, everything you want out of your practice, out of your business, out of your team, frankly, out of your life, will be found on the other side of creating greater accountability. This is how heavy this is. This is how important this is. Everything you want is on the other side of greater accountability, right? So if you hear my voice on that, accountable to what? Like when we're talking about your team, it's like they've got to be crystal. They've got to be crystal clear on these are my roles, these are my responsibilities, these are my KPIs, these are my goals. I own it. And you are going to hold me accountable to these outcomes, right? And then it's get them to focus on the right things. The scorecard's going to communicate that to them. So focus on the right work. And like you said, Dr. B, get them, support them, set them up for success by training and equipping and developing them. This is fitness, guys. Onboarding is one thing. Ongoing training is another thing. Onboarding is about creating competency. Ongoing training is about creating mastery. So we've got to just come alongside of our people and be like, man, I am cheering you on. Nobody wants you to be more successful than I do. I am holding you accountable to these outcomes, but I am going to be running next to you, supporting you, encouraging you, developing you, training you, and equipping you. Dr. P, you can never hold somebody accountable to something that they don't have clarity around, that it's not measured, it's not measurable, and you're not supporting them in their success.
So, Dr. Stephen, when you were going through it, I was listening through the lens of I'm a CEO listening to this right now, and everything that you went through is actually what you as the listener are accountable for to ensure that this is happening, that you're
100%
hiring A players only, so starting with getting the right people. You would be accountable to that. And a lot of us as CEOs, we struggle with that. And you talked about expediting the hiring process because you're a persuasive person and you're influential and it's easy for you to get people to say yes and you're likable and they're likable. And so you just kind of move fast. Most of you are high dominance, low conformity, and low patience. So you're going to move fast and you're going to do big picture stuff and you're going to be the boss and you're going to be like, I like to sit making decisions. I like that, checking boxes, moving on. That describes you. Great. You're going to be fast when you hire. So you need to get somebody who's your opposing energy to say,
your compliment.
Put on the brakes. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go do a background check on this cat, you know? And you're going to be like, that's just going to slow down this process. Now
yes, it is.
We're going to do our due diligence. So be accountable to what Dr. Stephen is saying. Maybe you have a history of like, Lord, we have had so much turnover of our people. We just can't keep these people. Everybody just demanding being paid more money. No, the issue is you don't have A players. You don't have a system in place to protect you from you, to ensure that you can bring on the A players. That's number one. And so creating SOPs and building out the framework and the system to ensure that people go through a professional experience coming on board. You are accountable to that. And then you're accountable to onboard them. When I say you as CEOs, if you've been listening to us, you also know this is something you can delegate and empower and equip.
This is your COO. This is your office manager.
Office manager, exactly, to do these things. But so it might be done by you at the beginning, then it's done with you, but eventually this is being done for you, understanding the 3 phases. But that is something that must be done, and you are still accountable as the CEO who is leading the team to ensure that the person that's managing the team it's happening according to our standard so that the team is being onboarded well. They're creating core competencies. They're testing out of all the skills. They're being positioned well to be successful and to win. So that's critical to this. Well, you're accountable to that part. And then we're accountable to giving them you use the scorecard as an example, to equipping them with training and then empowering them with the tool of the scorecard. The scorecard is what creates that focus for me, where I know there's a lot of things that I got going on, but I got some priorities. I got things that I'm accountable to that are the most important. And that would be what, as a team member of yours, if I worked for you, Dr. Steve and I were on your team, we would require that. Like, well, I can do a lot, but like,
what's important here?
What am I going to answer to? Like, at the end of the day, like when you knock on my door and you're like, hey, can we have a minute? I'm like, I know what this is about. The 5 things, the priorities that I'm accountable to. Like, I owe you a response, an answer to that. So that's what's on the scorecard. It says, I own this KPI or these KPIs. Remember, what a KPI is, a key performance indicator. You are accountable to the outcome, not to necessarily the task. You might have a list of people that are all contributing to the responsibilities that are going into driving that outcome, but ultimately you're accountable to that outcome. When you give someone a scorecard, they're not entitled to it. I always say, the scorecard goes with the position, not with the person. If the person leaves, I always tell them, leave your key and your scorecard on the desk, because the next person that's coming in is going to get the key and the scorecard. It's positional, so don't take it personally. And then understanding that, you're not entitled to it. It doesn't go just with the title because you wore the hat. You're entrusted with it. Trust is the first dysfunction. When you look at the dysfunctions in a team, we didn't have trust at the foundation. There was a lack of integrity, or I didn't truly get trained and onboarded well, but I got given the keys and I got given this scorecard, but I really wasn't ready for it. So make sure you take that part seriously to onboard well, train well, create competency well, so that then when you can entrust with the scorecard, now you're accountable to that outcome. You are equipped with the training, you're entrusted with the outcome, and it's clear exactly what it is, and I'm in agreement with that. So the scorecard is a tool, right? It's like a sawzall. It's like a screwdriver. It's meant to help you do a job, to get a job done. This one, it's meant to accomplish the job of helping you have greater accountability. Focus for the individuals on your team. And when everyone is focused, this world-class team of geniuses, very diverse in their hardwiring and positioned in their right positions, that's what makes the song go. When you listen to a great band, Dr. Steven, and I know you love U2 and some other bands, I'll tell you what makes it awesome is like all the different parts, but they're all different. And they're all different players who are playing those instruments. And it's like, they're wildly different people. But man, when they get on the drums, or when they get on the bass, or when they get on the lead guitar, or when they get on vocals, it's like, whoo, that is sweet. That's what a great business looks like. But everybody knows their role, they know their position, they know what they're accountable for, and they know when they deliver, everybody wins.
Yeah, Dr. Pete, this is not only an incredibly common constraint, it's an incredibly painful and expensive constraint. Okay, so in so many ways, so it's just like when you look at your P&L, you're going to see that your number one expense is your labor costs, direct and indirect labor costs. It's your people. This is your biggest investment in your business. Okay, so you got to get this right. When you start looking at the analysis of your business, if your players are not as productive as they should be, you've got an effectiveness issue. It's going to show up in your RPE or your revenue per employee, right? So it's like if you're not as profitable as you should be, that's an efficiency issue. And it's going to show up in your PP or profit per employee. So when you're studying the business, guys, this becomes incredibly expensive, both in impact and in your income. Most of the income that you're missing out on is in this constraint. It's just simply you have not optimized your team, okay? Plain and simple. You are lacking optimization. And all of the optimization you're looking for will be found on the other side of greater accountability, right? So it's just like, this is how you optimize your team. You have to be data-driven. You have to create clear expectations and agreements for those A players. You put the right people in the right seat, doing the right work the right way, and then you get them super clear on what's important here with their job description, their KPIs, their scorecard, their goals, and then you hold them accountable. And it's the accountability that will take all the motion and all that busyness and turn it into movement. Focus is what takes busyness and turns it into productivity. Because Dr. Pete, at the end of the day, none of us want to be busier. We all want to be more productive.
Dr. Steven, I know this is a constraint for everyone. You know, they say 95% of the problems that we have in our business are related to the people in the business. And this is one that we have passion about and we help chiropractors solve. So we want to help you solve this. Hey, I want to challenge you to take this seriously right now. Talk to one of our expert coaches. I'm going to invite you to take action and book a call with one of our expert coaches. We have our team building expert and experts standing by and ready to speak with you, to help you at a minimum identify if this is the constraint, if this is the main issue, and then give you some directives on the top three things you could do to take action to immediately make that shift. So there's a link in the notes in this podcast. You could also reach directly out to Dr. Stephen and myself through our Instagram, our Facebook. If you want to just go that route, if that's easier for you, whatever it is, just put in there, I want to speak to an expert about team building, one of your team building experts, and we'll get you connected with the right people. We'll get you the next step, the help that you need. We look forward to helping you. Please stick around for more business insights from this week's bonus interview with our remarkable success partner dedicated to helping you more successfully help more people. Enjoy. So today I'm in the studio with a new friend of mine, Stephanie Dove Blake. We just met actually at the end of 2025. Here we are in 2026. Stephanie is the founder of Social Sparrow. Anybody heard of that before? Well, you're about to hear about it now. If you haven't, Social Sparrow is doing big things in the chiropractic marketing space, and they've been an awesome success partner this year. We were actually introduced to you from another amazing success partner of ours, Dr. Caleb Braddock, Dr. Chad Glines from Genesis back in NEC, and they were just singing your praises. And then we kept hearing about you from other TRP coaching clients who also leveraged your services. We're like, well, if they're doing such amazing things, why don't they help more TRP doctors? So we connected at the end of last year, and you came on board as a success partner. So super pumped to interview you today. Just before we press record, we were chatting about what we would want to talk about today, and I can't wait for everybody who's listening to hear what you have to say. But before we get into some of that, tell us a little bit about you. I think your story matters. I know it inspired me, and I know it'll inspire our audience. So yeah,
Yeah.
let's jump there.
First of all, thank you so much. It's such an honor to get to interact with you guys every single time. Every single time I meet someone from TRP, it's a different experience because of how you guys show up and the integrity you have. And so it's an honor. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So a little bit about me, man. Okay, I am a big geek and someone who, for the longest time in my life, tried to find, what is it? Because I grew up knowing that I didn't quite fit in the box, right? And man, nothing ever seemed to fit right in a 9-to-5 job. I was always seemingly banging my head against the wall, hiding in the bathroom, just like, is this really it? Is this really what life is all about? And little did I know, I am totally an entrepreneur through and through and desired to build something great in the world. And part of that desire has all come together like like puzzle pieces through Social Sparrow. And so, like I said, I'm a total geek. I used to want to be like Sandra Bullock in The Net, and that is going to totally age me. I don't know if anybody listening has ever seen The Net, but it was like this 90s movie, and she was like this good hacker. And I was like, that's what I want to do. And so I actually dropped out of high school my junior year. And I went to a network engineering school, which was just one of those pop-up schools during the dot-com boom, which is kind of scary because they charged us crazy amounts of money. But I did all of this stuff to learn about server rooms and how to do network engineering and make computers talk to each other. And then I went into A+ certification to learn how to build computers and do all this fun stuff. And by the time I was basically supposed to graduate high school, I was working at a couple of different big companies like EDS and Cigna. I worked at a college in their server department, but still I felt that, just insatiable. Is this really it? I got to show up at 8 a.m. and I got to clock in, I got to clock out. Like, is this really it? And, I got married, started having babies, and something else presented itself. We were actually overseas as missionaries for a good while. So it took me out of like the workforce for a long time raising babies, which the best job I've ever had in my life is raising my children. I've got 4 beautiful, amazing children ranging from 12 to 24. But the where all of this kind of came together was in my tween and teen years. Part of the reason I was allowed to drop out of high school was because my mom didn't really have much of a say in the matter. And the reason why was she was extremely sick. It was just my mother and I. My father had passed away from bone cancer whenever I was young at the age of 7. And my mom, unfortunately, had fallen. My mom and my dad were missionaries over in Haiti, and she had fallen off of a donkey there in Haiti, and it had ruptured a disc in her back. And so after my father passed in Haiti, she came back to the States and, had a year or two of kind of normalcy with her back, just kind of hurting her, taking Tylenol, ibuprofen, whatever. But eventually that grew and grew and grew. And she went to a doctor, and the doctor referred her to, a back specialist, quote unquote. And eventually she had a surgery, and it ended up being a botched surgery ultimately. My mom was in between, having lost my dad and this horrible, horrific pain that literally, it's really sad to remember, but I remember her, literally, I would, as a young girl, just being mean her, like literally hiding her keys from her because she just wanted to ram herself through with the car into a tree because the pain was so great and she felt like such a burden. She didn't know how to function. And this was back in the Oxycontin boom. And my mom was definitely on Oxy as well as many, many, many other pills that she carried around in her little bag everywhere we went. It was actually not so little of a bag. And so what happened during that time was I became, her caretaker, and it was just me and her. I didn't have much, I don't have any extended family actually, but I walked this out with her and unfortunately get to see the worst side of what can happen to someone whenever their back really hurts them and then they go the medical route and it doesn't go well. I mean, I know there's a time and a place for surgery, but for the most people, there are other options. And I know that now, but my mother did not know that. And so she ultimately passed away in my early 20s due to a fall because over the years, she had the botched surgery. Then she had to have another surgery, which led to, I believe the second surgery was a disc fusion. And then some other discs got messed up a little further down. And so she had to have another surgery. And then from there, it was me driving her for injections for pain, driving her to doctor's appointments for more pain medicine, taking her to late night emergency room visits. And so it was really rough. I actually started doing all this when I think I was just turned 15 years old. I got my hardship license. And so I would drive her around to all of these things. And I grew up really fast and got to understand through the death of my father and watching my mother suffer, understanding a side of life that most people don't get to. I say unfortunately, but I felt like it enhanced my life and knowing how precious it is. Right. And so as after, all through all of this, my mother passing in my early 20s due to that fall, which honestly, she didn't have a great quality of life at that point, right? My life was trudging forward and I started having neck pain and back pain. Right pain shooting down my right arm, like you would not believe. Like I said, I don't have that. I haven't had that in so long now that I can barely, I just the fraction of a memory of what that felt like. It like hurts my soul because it was so incredibly painful. And then I would get these debilitating headaches. And I was fortunate. There was this crazy wild-eyed chiropractor out in Van Alstyne, Texas, experimenting with Facebook Live back in 2015, I think it was, Dr. Caleb Braddock. And he was out there just doing whatever he could to let people know about what he was doing in Van Alstyne. And I lived nearby, saw his Facebook Live, and through a series of events, I eventually came in and I was seen by Dr. Braddock, and he sold me a care plan that at that time I couldn't even afford. Like I had to get care credit. And I got care credit and I got help. And literally within about, I don't know, I think it was about 2 weeks, I was right as rain. And I had no more sharp shooting pain down my right arm. I had no more debilitating headaches. And I ultimately found out eventually, not at that time, I didn't know it, but I have a bulging disc. I live with it between C6 and C7. I've done the gamut just because I wanted to know, but I went to the back specialist, right? And looked at my MRI with him, which he did not explain at all, which I'm so grateful for doctors like Dr. Glines and Dr. Braddock who do explain people's MRIs in common language. But he, basically was just like, you need disc replacement surgery. And that was about 10 years ago. And now I was like, absolutely not. There's no way I'm doing disc replacement surgery. And so walked out of there dedicated to do something different. And I had already experienced chiropractic care a little bit. So went full on into that. I've been on the DRX 9000 and through chiropractic care, massage therapy, I have not had to have any pain medicine. I've not had to have any surgeries of any kind, no injections, no nothing. And it's just a testimony of like the power of chiropractic care because this guy is looking at me like, if you do not have this surgery, you're going to lose feeling in your extremities. You're going to blah, blah, blah. Like the way he extrapolated out the hell that my life was supposed to be because of this bulging disc and that there was no other option. But yet, because I knew about chiropractic care, it completely changed my life. I recently went back and he's like, wow, it wasn't the same guy, but this guy saw the new MRI. I checked in after 10 years, right? And they looked at my neck and basically they were like, wow, I would have expected you to be really worse off than this, basically, because it was impinging on my spinal cord by 5 millimeters. And so essentially, he was like, I don't know what you're doing, but keep it up. And it's a good thing you didn't get that disc replacement surgery because it'd be about time for it to be replaced by now. And we actually don't even recommend the device that you were going to get. We would recommend this fusion device now. And he pulled this device. I was like, well, I have no need for that. Thank you so much. And walked out that door as fast as I could. So, like I said, the puzzle pieces now, through all of my geekiness and stumbling, meeting Dr. Braddock and then learning about Facebook ads and learning about marketing, and then coming to Dr. Braddock as actually a patient, this homeschooling person, mom of 4 who didn't have a background in this, and asked him if I could run some ads for him. He said no first, but I'm persistent. And then he said yes. And yeah, we started running ads together. And man, that's been almost 10 years ago now that I started working with Dr. Braddock, and he's been a client since then. And we have just grown and just seen this amazingness where I get to actually help doctors get in front of people who are just like my mom and just like me, who maybe if they have another option, they don't have to go have surgery that has this horrible success rate, right? And get to help doctors change people's lives.
Wow. There was parts of the story that I didn't even hear the first time that you shared that time. So thank you for sharing that. And your story matters, and where you come from is so important. So thank you for sharing that. And just knowing more about you now and your family and just your journey is just incredible. So it just puts you even in a better position for me, just knowing the type of person you are. So I love that your
Thank
attitude
you.
about it was, it actually helped shape you and who you became and your story. I love that. So good. So a little bit about Stephanie that y'all don't know either. Okay, so you're very humble, but you have literally built a team that's larger than probably almost everybody that's listening to this podcast right now. You have 26 people on your team,
Yeah.
right? You've built a huge business. You're serving chiropractors all over. You've built a massive company. You're CEO of a company. You're a founder. You're an entrepreneur. You're a geek, you said.
Yeah.
Pretty cool geek. Anyway, bottom line is you're an amazing person. So every business exists to solve problems. So you help solve the problem on the top of on our domains, the first domain, attraction, getting
Yes.
new people in, and literally through the digital platform. And you're up to some cool things right now. So talk to us a little bit about, in the few minutes that we have, tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing to help people, and also what's coming down the pipeline. Like what can we expect? Because I know that everybody's listening wants to know, okay, from this person who's been doing this 10 years and winning consistently in driving leads into chiropractic offices, what's happening right now? What do you see that's coming in the near future? What are you guys working on? What are you excited about? And then at the end, I'll just ask you, like, how do people learn more, get in contact with you and your company to learn more about it? So I'll let you run with that.
Absolutely. So, specifically in the attraction level, we help generate leads via Meta and Google, and then we help book those leads also. Because the truth is now with the leads that are coming in both off of Meta and Google, it is so hard to get a hold of anybody. I don't know about you or anybody who's listening right now, but you probably get tons of spam text messages, spam phone calls, and you've got our devices like iOS and Android. They're working on spam filters. And so amongst all that, there's a lot of really great things that are being done in order to protect the consumer, which is us. But amongst that, it's also hurting a lot of small businesses. So the way we generate leads is people literally opt in. They give their name, their email, and their phone number, and they raise their hand and they say, I am interested in this special. I'm interested in this thing, or whatever. And so essentially, whenever they opt in, it takes a lot in order to get those people booked. And I'm probably the worst person about this because I do the same thing. So like there's this gym here where I'm from, and I opted in to sign up for their free whatever because I was looking for a new gym, and they followed up with me for probably 3 months, and I did not respond a lick. And the reason why was because I responded during a time when it was the holidays. I signed up during, I think it was October or something, at the end of October. And so then, it's Thanksgiving, it's busy, it's December. I'm not starting the gym in December. I'll just wait till January like everybody else, And so they're just following up with me and following up with me. And I was so appreciative because in January, I signed up and I paid for an entire year ahead of time, right? I didn't even sign up monthly. So I'm not a low quality lead, but yet many doctors will look at a lead that doesn't respond for X amount of time and be like, they're a terrible lead. They'll never convert. Right. And so the truth is, in today's busy world with the amount of spam messages and AI which I'm a huge fan of AI. I'm equally as excited and terrified by all of it, but we actively use AI aggressively. But with the AI stuff that has enabled the bad people, the bad players, it's impacted us as consumers and it's impacting businesses. And so it takes so much work to get people booked. So what we did is we basically said, look, doctor, your front office staff already has a 40-hour-a-week job. Whenever we come along, what we need them to do is going to be at least 10 to 15 hours of work a week. And she's not going to be able to do it. So we're going to do it for you, essentially. And so that's where we put the majority of our focus. I mean, we have a lot of things that come along with our services, like our automations, our text follow-up, our hard confirmation process, all of these different things in order to basically take care of what we call core 4, which is core number 1, core number 2, and core number 3 is what we focus on taking care of. So core number 1 is how many leads can we generate for what cost per lead? But we all know it doesn't matter how many leads we generate. We could generate thousands of leads for you. If only 5% of them book, well, then what good is that to you? So core number 2 is booking. So we have to get a great booking percentage. And then core number 3 is show. We have to get a great show percentage. How many of the people booked can get show? And then out of the people who show, that's up to the doctor. How many of them can they close? And as long as the doctor has the tool set to close cold traffic leads, meaning Facebook, Google are always easier to close because they're warmer traffic. They probably were search-based. They searched and said, chiropractor near me, and then our ads pop up. Those people are going to book faster, show faster, and come in. But there's a ceiling with the number of Google leads you can get, and they're usually more expensive. Whereas with Facebook leads, they are going to be more inexpensive, but they're going to be a little harder to book. They're going to be a little harder to get to show up, but there's going to be some diamonds, some incredible diamonds that literally many of our practices were 85% of all of their traffic. And they're blowing up, getting second practices, hitting their goals, doing wonderful. And so as long as those main core 4 are functioning and working, and that's our individual process that we look at every single client through that lens. Is the core 4 functioning well? And if it's not, which core is malfunctioning and how do we fix it? And we have solutions for that. And so that's mainly how we serve our clients right now. And it's so much fun because we've been doing it for so long. There's not much we haven't seen at this point.
Really good. Well,
Yeah.
you said something to me earlier too, and I just want to restate it for everybody. So you're obviously a success partner. We refer, our clients to your company because you guys do incredible work and we've gotten great, just awesome feedback. So if someone is listening and they're like, you know what, I should connect with Social Sparrow. I want them to be able to connect, but you're working with decompression clients, chiropractic, soft wave, neuropathy. I know you said the chiropractic and the decomp are the 2 big ones, but you're even working with those others. So if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, do you work with fill in the blank, one of those 4 specific value centers, that you are doing that. And so you said a word during our time right before we started recording, the word innovation and staying far ahead. And you said that's what you guys are working on right now. So you guys listened to someone who is for a long time been in the game. When you talked about your story as a network engineer and going to school when you were, not even know it's high school, you've been doing this a long time. So again, this is not new for you. And so you guys have mastered this and you're continuing to stay on the tip of the spear with everything you guys are innovating with, OpenClaw AI and everything else you said. So if someone wants to learn more, get in contact with you, kind of figure out if you guys might be a good fit to help them with what they need to be doing to reach the community that they serve, how do they take the next steps?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'd love to talk with you. The best way to do that would just be go to socialsparrow.com. And on there's a contact page. You can submit a form there and book right away, right on my calendar. And then we can have a conversation and see if we can help you out for sure.
Beautiful. Well, Stephanie, thank you for taking the time to meet with me here today. I'm glad that you were a client, now you're at the gym. So I
Making it
love that
happen.
you're a chiropractic client. You're a client of social media ads and responding to that. Like you're a user, you live the experience and then you turn it into your business. So
For sure.
just
Maybe a little too
awesome.
much sometimes.
Well, we're appreciative of you. Thank you for being a remarkable success partner. Again, thank you for taking the time to meet with me here today. Grateful for you and looking forward to a great rest of this year.
Thank you so much. It's an honor.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, direct message us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors.